Chainsaw Man! Volumes 8 and 9. Back-to-back Chainsaw Man is going to be delivering us one of my least favorite volumes, followed up by one of, if not, my favorite volume of Chainsaw Man so far. Interesting, keeping it fresh. And what I would like to say in terms of just quickie review things at the beginning here, I think Chainsaw Man is dumb, while being pretty clever, and that's the point. And I always try to review things based off of what they're attempting to be, right? It takes a real jackass to look at something like, I don't know, Jackass and compare it to The Godfather. That's not what it's trying to be, so what are you doing? And I do think there's quite a bit of heart and character here to love, but there's also a lot of flaws. I'm not necessarily buying into the hype, but I certainly get why the hype for Chainsaw Man is there. And maybe more importantly, if you were far more familiar with the genre or medium, I think this certain approach that Fujimoto is going for will obviously resonate more, because the inspiration for Chainsaw Man is coming from a place of deep-seated love and satire for stories like these. So I don't know, I am enjoying it. It's not my favorite. I'm kind of sitting at like a 7 out of 10 for the whole thing so far. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Volume 8, one of my least favorite yet. The action here is literally immediate in the first panel because we're picking up right where Volume 7 left off, and we see Quincy takes Kishibe and throws him out of a window. He manages to somehow, with a knife into a concrete wall, slow his descent enough that when he lands on a car, he doesn't die. I did look back and check, they are high up, so, you know, I can accept characters falling from incredible heights and living, especially people with all kinds of training and abilities, especially because in the real world, people have fallen from incredible heights and live. But the idea of ramming a knife into concrete, I'll even buy that a knife can puncture concrete like that. Why not? I don't care. I'm not even complaining. I'm just imagining the sensation of a knife scraping on concrete. Oh no, that's nails on a chalkboard for me. Am I alone in that? I've actually had a blade hit concrete before. It is miserable, like bone-tingly awfulness. Maybe everyone knows what I'm talking about, maybe not. I'm not entirely sure. The gunman in the room, though, tries to open fire on members of the Halloween crew, but a wave of fire forces him to dodge, and Kwangzi picks him up and throws him through the window. The violence fiend gets done taking care of some dolls and tells Kabino to come over, but she's distracted looking out the window, seeing her car has been crushed by the people being thrown from the building, and that's actually really funny to me. I don't know why Chainsaw Man has decided to pick on Kabino so much, but it is funny, and I feel bad. Like, she's not a bad person, she's just scared in an extreme circumstance, but at the same time, I'm like, Schadenfreude. After a brief hostage situation that's interrupted by Sharkman, we see one of the agents challenges Kwangzi as Denji steps on a nail. Dun dun dun! The nail came back into play, and his body begins moving out of his control. He's held up in the air in a crucifixion pose, and we see from another dimension some horrible creatures pulling him to pieces. Tolka comes in and kicks our shark boy, and the master comes in behind him clapping. It's revealed that the master's been trying to craft this person into some kind of super doll. She says, "I'll tell you the secret of making a sophisticated doll. Take the human you'll turn into a doll, and add emotions only humans have. Adoration, worship, pity. And the secret ingredient, guilt." She touches his head and he has some kind of seizure, and then we see his eyes next to the Santa Claus eyes, and he appears to have become an empty vessel, at least for a moment, as the master says it's finished, and we see the reflection of his face next to Santa Claus, who, yes, people last time were telling me he's not literally Santa Claus. I got that. He doesn't have the bushy beard and the sleigh. He's a puppet devil, I get it, yada yada, but like, to me, what was so funny was that they're calling him Santa, and I was imagining an actual Santa devil. Disappointed if I don't get one by the end. Once again, Kwangzi picks up an agent and throws them from the window, but he is saved by his octopus. Yay! Aki and his agents are standing back up, ready to go, but he is interrupted as he sees into the future. Master is now outside and says, "Bye-bye, Grandpa," and we see Tolka standing still as the grandpa raises a now bladed arm, shoves it through his own chest, and says, "I offer my heart and my beloved children. In exchange, Hell Devil, Please call all living things in this department store to hell. And we see a cut to 4 children, the 4 that Santa Claus asked for, with 3 of them taken away. Our party of heroes is now in a black void, freaking out as Tolka stands there perfectly still. Master says, "Have a good trip, Tolka." And a gargantuan hand descends from the sky and pulls our party into hell, I think? I'm reading all of that the best I can interpret it, but if I'm going to be honest, some of this was really getting confusing in how it was being communicated of what exactly is happening, but apparently this master figure is actually the puppet master, and the individual we've been seeing as Santa Claus is also a part of them or a puppet they've made that can make other puppets, I think. Hell, though, is apparently a sprawling field with doors above it. That's a sentence I just said. And our whole crew is wondering where we are. A truce is called as they're seeing their fiends are having a difficult time fully transforming. They try to bring Dingy back to life by pulling his cord, but only a little bit of the chainsaw comes out of his head before he starts screaming in pain on the ground. Aki asks the angel devil, "Do you know this place? What is it?" "We're finished. This is hell. It's hell's sent. It's hard to believe, but we've been cast into hell by a devil's power." To which one of the Halloween crew interrupts, "Lady Guangxi, I'm feeling like I'm going to lose my mind. We're being watched. We're being watched by a dangerous devil. Far beyond here. Devils far more dangerous than some gun devil. The devils with names of primal fears are watching us. They're the transcendent devils who have never once experienced death. The very instant we draw their hostility, we'll die." They start saying, "We're doomed, we're doomed!" And a devil drops down from the sky and is revealed to be the Darkness Devil. And I actually thought, like, when it said Darkness Devil, we're just gonna see a black void take over the panels and not be able to see what happened. I was like, oh, that'll be Chainsaw Man's humor. But I was wrong. But the visual as this devil arrives is a bunch of astronauts praying to their severed lower torsos and a frog somewhere ribbering. It takes the arms from our entire crew without effort, and the puppet master kneels and says, "I am the Dull Devil. I've brought you Chainsaw's heart as per the contract. Please give me the power to kill Makima." We cut back to the soldier and the old man on the bench where the old man says, 3 to use for contracts, 1 for pleasure. A note is left, and it says, "Makima can hear us. The day of reckoning is near. Kill Makima." And a hand comes from outside the frame and hands the master who's still in our world a piece of darkness, which they swallow. So yes, all of that party was just one giant way to get this puppet master a deal with the Darkness Devil so they can have enough power to kill Makima. Tolka, the doll left in hell, is murdered by the Darkness Devil, and an attempt at fighting it begins. The shark really tries to revive Denji, which is really, like, sad to see him go with he doesn't have arms, his mouth, and be like, "Please come back." But he is sliced into several pieces, and that's actually the death of the shark. I loved him! Several other members of the party, including the Halloween crew, are absolutely butchered. Violence, though, fully removes their mask and attacks, but is quickly obliterated. Dingy, only half transformed, tries to fight, and we see Aki says to himself, "Not again." The angel devil looks onto darkness and begins weeping blood. That's a sentence I just said without prep naturally. That is a hell of a sentence. The ghost devil is summoned and attacks darkness from above, but quickly loses their limbs as well. I don't know why darkness, thematically speaking, is going for all these limbs, but it's certainly creating interesting visuals. We cut to Makima literally sitting atop a pile of dead puppets where she says, "Damn Darkness Devil, bidding me to come and save them, aren't you?" The ghost devil says, "Lady Makima, you must not come," to which she says, "Call me." The ghost responds, "As you wish." And here's where I began to suspect exactly what Makima's powers are, but I won't get into that for those of you who want it to be revealed for the story. We see Makima arrives in hell and unleashes some kind of attack on darkness, but has her own arm mangled in response. She reaches down and touches Tolka, somehow making him say, "I offer you all of myself. So please, send us back." A sword impales Makima through the chest, and everyone wakes up atop the department store. From inside a growing pile of puppets that appear to be running to dogpile the master, we hear laughter, followed by, "I see that's how that works. So this is the power of darkness. It's magnificent. I'll come to understand all of it." They jump up to the department store roof where they come across Makima, who responds, "Hello, Santa Claus." Which means, yes, this is all just that one entity's doing through many puppets. We weren't informed that they were puppets until much later. Okay, cool. I got it. Makima then pulls Denji's string and says, "The enemy absorbed a piece of darkness's flesh. No attacks in the darkness will work. Denji, will you save me?" And a fully chainsaw Denji leaps to his feet and says, "Wolf! because of a callback to the dog thing before. Neat. Where the action starts, though, we cut to down below, where the man with the deal with the octopus devil is letting his devil handle a lot of the puppets, but he's talking to Kashibi and says, looks like Miss Makima's objective isn't to protect Denji after all. For a security detail, it was too many conspicuous people. Plus, the guys she requested for the team are all third-rate hunters, including me. If you're third-rate, that makes me fourth-rate. Even a first-rate hunter can't beat aging. Miss Makima and Santa are both making moves for the same objective that we don't know about. Not that it matters as long as I get paid. You're absolutely sure Makima isn't listening to this conversation? It's safe. I had Octopus check. There are no rats, birds, or anything nearby. Makima borrows the hearing of lower life forms. To which, yeah, at that point I was like, I think I'm pretty sure I know what her real power is. I was kind of right, kind of wrong. I'll tell you when we get there. But Denji's fight with the puppet, darkness, devil, entity thing, Santa Claus, that's a lot that I just said, that's all accurate, I think, is aided by Kwangzi, now in her full devil form, which looks pretty badass. There's a brief trick where some of the puppets are made to look like they have their human souls still in them, but Kwangzi talks Denji into continuing killing with a ignorance is bliss argument of whether or not this is a farce or true. Before darkness actually does descend, and the darkness entity, of course, gets more powerful and able to heal more quickly during night, because they can't really sustain damage in darkness. But to combat this, Denji pours gasoline all over himself, lights himself on fire, and brings his own light. Then, he takes a car and tosses it down repeatedly onto the darkness entity. But after mostly beating this devil, Denji receives a monologue where he's essentially threatened where with everywhere he'll go, he'll never know if the people around him have been turned to dolls. When the next attack will come, he'll be hounded like a nightmare. Denji responds, if Santa Claus is coming to town, hope he comes on a weekend, because I get Sundays off. The entity keeps talking down to him, which Denji says, go on, make use of my imagination. Dumb it down so even an immortal like me understands. I think reminding us he was an immortal right there is an intentional choice, because the next panel is him getting his fucking head cut off as Kwangzi removes Denji's head. She then unleashes one of her Halloween crew on this entity and apparently downloads everything ever known ever, all the facts into their mind, and that breaks them, because they were saying how like they've learned so much through darkness, they have so much more to learn, and they're sent by the Cosmos entity that is in this Halloween crew into a psychological attack that, yes, flat out downloads every bit of information into their psyche. And this is apparently so overwhelming, it reduces anyone subjected to it into just being able to say Halloween. And so now everyone who's tied into this network of puppets that this person has established is mentally broken because they're linked to them. And that fully ends this entity's threat. One thing I will give Chainsaw Man, while I do not think all of its narrative beats exactly follow the established rules perfectly, and I don't think a lot of character decisions necessarily add up, I can never predict what's coming next, even in like the remote ballpark of prediction. I'm always off by like several parks. Makima is there though still, and Kwangzi raises her hand and surrenders, saying, you can cut off all my limbs if you think I'll run, just don't kill my women. I'll do anything to save their lives, even lick your shoes. To which Makima says, a corpse is talking. We see Kashibi's put a blindfold on himself as the full party is decapitated in front of him. We see a news report that people around the world who were puppets are now reduced to only being able to say Halloween. They're unsure if it's a new devil attack or some kind of virus. When Aki asks Kashibi why he's taking a blindfold off, he says, I don't want to see a thing. And that was the end of 8, which wasn't like the worst of Chainsaw Man, it just wasn't my favorite yet. Now, my favorite yet, though, is picked up in 9, and here's where it starts to feel like we've gotten through a lot of like the middle grind, world build, character building stuff, and we're getting to the end, and it is exciting. I am really liking the vibe that 9 brought to the table, because 9 picks up with real weight in terms of ramifications for everything that was done here. Chainsaw Man hasn't been afraid to like harm its characters, but now we're seeing that Power is apparently having severe PTSD after their encounter and can't sleep alone, and Denji has to essentially always be in the room with her. And his loyalty to Power has grown to the point where Makima actually offers to go on that trip, just her and Denji, but he says no, saying Power needs him right now because she can't even really function with how much trauma she experienced in hell. Which, she didn't necessarily deal with the worst of everything from what we saw, but hey, she's really not a fully there adult in a lot of ways, being obviously a fiend, and it's somewhat understandable that something so out of her control forces foreshadowing, would affect her so much. But in a scene where Power is offered to let Denji drink her blood for everything he's done, we get an interesting monologue that provides a lot of insight into Denji, where he is now mentally, and solidify the character development and growth that's allowed him to be here. It says, Pochita, Makima told me naughty things feel better the more that you know your partner. But even though I know Power really well, like, it doesn't feel hot at all. It probably isn't that you should learn anything and everything there is to know. Same goes for those assassins who came to kill me. If I'd known their circumstances, learned what kind of people they were, then I probably would have felt crappy when they died. There are some things you gotta know, and some things is better to stay in the dark about. Whatever's behind this door, I don't need to know. Tying into the nightmare he's been repeatedly having. And like, that's tied into the immature motivations that got Denji started. It shows like he's turning into an adult, but becoming a jaded adult who isn't really feeling the type of connection and closeness to people that he originally wanted, but a very different type of connection and closeness. He's trauma bonding with the people around him, and they're actually trauma bonding with him as well, which becomes a very relevant theme throughout this volume. Because we pick up with Aki, who wants to go visit a family grave. He wants to go alone, but Denji and Power insist on coming with him. They leave their cat with their trainer and go on a family trip with Aki, where he is paying respects to the people we know he's lost, but he's taking his friends along. And this accumulates in after the visit to the grave, with him and Denji having a drink, where Aki says, every year when I went to visit their grave, I'd remember nothing but bad things. It was depressing. But this time, you guys were such pests that I didn't have the time to get lost in that. Denji looks at him and goes, you're welcome? And like, yeah. If someone said that to me, I'd be like, I'm sorry I annoyed you so much that you didn't get depressed, you're welcome. And we see Aki goes to pick up the cat from Kibishi, and they have a conversation where Aki actually asks to be taken off the gunmetal case. The upcoming expedition to eliminate the Gun Devil, can Division 4 withdraw from it? To which Kibishi responds, now I'm surprised. I thought you'd be the most eager for this operation out of everyone in public safety. The spots that belong to the agents killed by Santa will be filled by others. Division 4 won't be fighting alone. Public safety's best teams will be coming together for this. We should be able to fight even the Gun Devil on equal footing. The Gun Devil's location is classified information. Pull out and you close yourself off from getting access to it. Even if the Gun Devil gets taken out, that information will be kept under tight lid. It'll be years before you know whether the devil that killed your family is dead. Do you still want to back out? I'm willing to accept that. And with what we know about Aki, that's a big deal for clear reasons. Obviously what Aki's doing here is trying to get Denji and Power out of harm's way because he's growing attached to them. He is bonded with them. And that relationship matters more to him than getting any form of closure on what was done to his family, which even if they are successful, he will not be around long enough to know that. When Kibishi asks him why the change of heart, we see Aki thinks back to when Denji and Power were taken out and says, I got cold feet. Aki even goes home and we see that Denji and Power have made him food that makes him barf. But Denji says, great, now we've all vomited in front of each other. Yay. Talking more on the stakes from the last volume actually still impacting this one, which is one of the reasons I still don't hate Volume 8. I think it's fine because it had real weight on what is to come next. Aki's still missing his arm, Shark Guy is dead, and apparently Komini just resigned. But yes, even in their weakened state, they're pushing forward, and we see our three main characters are called into Makima's office. She tells Aki she heard of his request and is going to grant it, but at the same time, Denji and Power are going to be moved onto another team so that they will still be going. Once Makima makes it clear that under no circumstances will they not be going, Aki asks to be put back on the operation. Pretty blunt manipulation, but effective. But as soon as they all agree to be on this mission, Makima starts filling them in on what exactly is happening with the Gun Devil, and this is interesting. As of now, the Gun Devil has already been defeated and confined. When the Soviet army sighted the Gun Devil for the first time, it had already been taken down by someone else and was in an unconscious state. Currently, 20% of the Gun Devil's body is possessed by America, 28% by the Soviets, 11% by China, and 4% by other countries. The remaining 37% is held by devils around the world as flesh pieces. When Aki interjects, that's not possible. What about the guns that killed Himino, Kiros, and all the others? Those were made by man. But the manufacturers of guns is strictly controlled in every country by international law. Officially, yes. But in reality, in every country, the government circulates guns manufactured in secret. Though it would seem the people trafficking the guns are claiming they obtained them in contracts with the Gun Devil to cover up the unseemly truth. That sounds like a conspiracy theory, does it? All sorts of governments funneled arms to areas in conflict even before the Gun Devil. But then fear of guns will only keep rising, as it should. The more the world fears the Gun Devil, the stronger the Gun Devil will grow. Then the nations in possession of more of the Gun Devil's body will have the upper hand against other nations. I said way back in another volume how I hoped that the commentary on gun issues would come somewhere? And it has. Clearly, this is in reference to the fact that when gun violence happens, more guns are sold because people get afraid, and then gun problems get worse. And interesting. I actually there's some real development and execution of an idea that was put forth earlier to then grow and come to fruition. The gun lobby's a real thing, and responsible gun owners should not like it. I'm not anti-gun, I'm anti-dumb gun. So wait, so then an expedition to eliminate the gun devil, does that mean yes? I'm sure it will be a kind of war. Dun dun! And we see later on Aki's talking with Denji and Power, and he's a bit upset that they're probably not even going to end up really killing the gun devil. What they're going to do is just gather pieces to make sure it's in Japan's control. That's not really the catharsis our boy needs. The gun devil will live forever, always being used by one group or another. And we see Denji as a thought. I mean, I made a promise with Makima. She told me she'd grant me any one wish if I killed the gun devil. Denji, you got... Probably should have seen that a bit sooner. Aki is then shown yet another glimpse into the future by his future devil, and he says at night, "Future devil, show yourself." And Future clarifies what he was shown. "You and Power will be slaughtered by Denji. After that, the devil that devils fear most shall appear." We see Aki has visited the angel devil in the hospital. "You and the blood fiend will be killed by chainsaw, and the future can't be changed. So what do you want me to do about it? Are you asking me to stop it from happening when I don't have hands?" Because he still doesn't have his arms. And we see Aki gives the angel devil an envelope before he says, "I'm leaving to see the gun devil tomorrow. This may be the last time we ever meet. Bye." Wait, sometimes the humans my power killed and turned into weapons show up in my dreams and blame me for it. If I just let you die, I have this feeling you'll start haunting my dreams too. I also want to do everything I can to help you stay alive. We should bring this to Makima together. She might know a way to avoid your death. And they go to visit Makima, who is apparently on a beach. And we're reminded by the angel devil that Aki actually does have feelings for Makima as well. Aki approaches Makima and says, "Miss Makima, what are you doing here? Tomorrow's the big day." "Waiting. Shouldn't be long now, I thought." "For us?" "No, not for you. Why are you two here?" "I spoke with the future devil and I found out that my time is near. Whatever happens, I want Denji and Power to survive and be happy. My brother's death was my fault. I want the strength to change things this time. Miss Makima, I'll make any contract with any devil. Please help me. In that case, will you make a contract with me? If you'll give me all of you, I'll give you strength." "What? What are you talking about?" "This is an order. Say you'll make a contract." And we see the angel devil actually has some memories come back to them due to the location they're at. They're where the angel devil first met people and apparently fell in love, had real relationships until Makima showed up. "Hello over there. Who are you? Who are you? Say, show me your power." "No way. My power brings death." "Show me your power. That's an order." And an angel devil seems to blip back into consciousness. "Why is it nighttime now?" And we see the angel devil is surrounded by the people he knew, met, and fell in love with. And now I want to talk about how good of a reveal this is of a villain overall, because Makima is intimidating as hell. In a story narrative filled with monsters of all varieties, she has managed to stand as the most just scary figure. There's something about her and her command over everything around her that feels so all-consuming. And now this build-up that right before this we got this of other devils who are uber powerful going and gunning for her, wanting her dead for some reason. And I'm sure if I went back and reread this, there'd be so many things foreshadowing exactly what this final reveal of her power is going to be. It also makes a couple of themes around her with Denji hit all the harder, and it makes these next couple of lines from Aki all the more devastating. "I'll make a contract. Oh dear angel, did you remember?" The angel devil screams, "Usage 10 years, summoning the sword, but Makima says down, causing the angel devil to drop. "I'm impressed you managed to break free of my power. What are you planning?" "Angel, say you'll give me all of you. I give you all of me. Good boy. Sorry you two. I really had no other choice. Japan is full of spies, more than any other nation in the world. The operation to take out the gun devil has already been exposed. It was rather meaningless, even as a bluff. In the end, things have taken the course that will cause the greatest damage. That's unfortunate." We see a cut to the United States where apparently the president has decided he is going to exchange 1 year from every American citizen's life to summon the gun devil to kill Makima. If we don't kill Makima now, the worst possible peace will descend upon humanity. It looks like other nations have already given up. No, it's probably more accurate to say they've accepted it. Fearing and strengthening Makima is nothing less than the history of humanity. Everything, even resistance, may be but a step in a predictable course, but the land of the free rests on my shoulders. I cannot simply surrender without so much as a whimper. My citizens, forgive my foolish decision. Gun Devil, I'll give you 1 year of the lifespans of the American people. In exchange, I want you to kill Makima. That is, the Control Devil. So I didn't think she was going to be the Control Devil. I thought she was going to be the Discipline Devil, because like in my head, people fear like discipline, like strict rules, things like that. Control is probably the more obvious answer, and I should have just gone there. But this idea that America consistently enables... Yeah, that works. That checks. That's, yep, okay. There's something being said here by this crazy bastard. September 12th, 1997, 3:18 p.m. The Gun Devil hits the city of Nikaho, and what we see is an absolutely horrific attack from the Gun Devil, with victims' names listed throughout the pages in a style very reminiscent of many memorials to real-life mass shootings. We see again and again victims slaughtered as massive rounds tear itself through the city. 3:18:25. The Gun Devil stops. Makima prepares for ability activation. Makima's 29th recorded death. And we see a bullet rockets through her head, but a fleshy bit comes from that hole in her head and forms a halo above her. And I gotta say, in a very morbid moment, the Gun Devil design does not disappoint. Absolutely incredible design for the Gun Devil. But we see the representation of the ties Makima has put between herself and all these other powers. It says Makima ability activation. And we see a gargantuan portal unleashing hellish powers opens above the Gun Devil. And it seems a kaiju-style devil fight might be about to begin. Holy God. We cut from here to Denji's apartment, where we see someone is knocking on their door. Denji goes to open it, but before he can, that dream flashes in his mind with Pochita behind the door. Don't open it! His phone starts ringing. Power wakes up. What's going on? I'm trying to sleep. On the phone. Gotta answer the phone. The doorbell's ringing. Are you gonna answer the door? Oh, yeah, I know. Just give me a minute. Don't open the door. Why not? Denji answers the call from Makima. Denji, have you seen the news? No, I just woke up. I'll give you the short version. The Gun Devil appeared without warning. We failed to defeat it. It overtook a dead body and got away. That gun fiend is now ringing your doorbell. Haha, come on, that's not funny. Why would the stupid gun show up at my front door? Miss Makima? Well, hey, you can count on me. Lucky he came to us instead of the other way around, huh? Saves us free travel. Denji, this time don't think about anything while you fight. Hey, why can't we open the door? Oh, right. Makima says, it's a gun fiend at our door, I guess. What? You're talking nonsense. No, really. Makima said so. You're such a fool. Top Knot still hasn't come home. Remember? He's the one ringing the doorbell. Hey, that's you, right, Aki? And they don't get a response. And we, the reader, know she's not wrong. Power, take Meowie and leave for the balcony. What? Why? Power! Come on, Meowie. And Power takes Meowie out to the balcony. Denji slowly approaches the door. He opens the door and sees a figure with a gun jutting out from its forehead and an assault rifle where their arm should be. She's serious. Oh, so this is for real. Gotcha. Well, do we fight? The figure raises its assault rifle arm. Denji, why do you know my name? And we cut to what looks like a young boy in a forest having a snowball fight. And Denji's there. They start throwing snowballs at Denji, and we cut back to watching Denji getting shot out from his apartment. Power exclaims, my apartment! Power, hide! It was a gun fiend after all. I'll take care of them. Gun fiend? But that's not possible, because it was Aki's scent in the entranceway. Denji says, don't lie to me right now. And we see the fiend jump from the apartment, landing on top of Denji and Power. And we see a little gun Pochita this time, and that makes me really sad. Back in the vision of the snowball fight, we see that Aki is envisioning himself as a child in front of Power and Denji. Power, you're here too. Okay. You're on Denji's team. Eat this. And we cut once again to seeing Denji and Power getting shot at. Aki looks at some civilians nearby. Want to play with us? And he opens fire. Denji screams for him not to, but he's too late. The fighting continues with many civilian casualties. Denji keeps begging for Aki to snap out of it. Aki! Can you hear me? This is the last thing you'd ever want to do, isn't it? Wake up, jerkface! We see the young Aki. I've never had this much fun before. Mom and Dad are always fussing over Teo. They never pay attention to me. But now my life is finally gotten kind of fun. And we see in the real world, Aki is standing over a shot Denji. Denji loses an incredible amount of blood, and he's only able to continue fighting after some civilians who saw his news broadcast come and bleed themselves, feeding it to him, trying to give him some power to stop the fiend attacking them. This is actually a cool moment to see, like, the citizens coming together to try and give Denji the power to take down this violence. The news broadcast from before being tied in as a positive when it was presented as a negative. That is pretty neat. Aki approaches through the rubble. We see in his vision, though, he's seeing a young Denji crying from the snowball fight. How come you're crying? I've never seen you cry before. He falls to the ground. Okay, I lose. I don't like snowball fights anyway. They just make your hand cold. Huh? Denji? And he's suddenly alone. Big brother! The young Aki sees his dead brother run from the home. I got the ball and gloves! Oh yeah, I wanted to play catch. And we see in the real world, due to the hesitation, Denji has shoved 2 of his chainsaws through Aki, blood pouring out. The future devil looks down from above. You have died the worst possible way for the chainsaw boy. And we see in his vision, Aki is still playing catch with his younger brother. I got goosebumps. That was damn good. That had thematic points, it had lots of tie-ins, great character beats, it communicated itself extraordinarily well. That was the best volume of Chainsaw Man yet, and easily gets an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Overall, I'm still sitting at like a 7 for the series, but if it's able to land on that high of a note, and we see these last 2 volumes are consistently that good, that could be bumped on up, because I don't cry when I read books. But that... God damn! I think the things I'm the most disappointed by with Chainsaw Man so far are some of the structure of the story, some of the humor, and the pacing a bit, but I think some of that is just going to come into me not being as experienced as I needed to be with the manga to enjoy this, and this story isn't necessarily concerning itself as much with focusing on those things. What I'm liking a lot is the amount of character development that's been delivered pretty quickly, and how much I'm realizing I care about these characters more than I thought that I did. That's always a really nice surprise when it happens, when things get high stakes in a story and you didn't realize you were getting invested, but suddenly you're like, oh, Aki, I really care about Aki a lot. Ouch. And what this is going to do to Denji and Power after she was already shown to be in such a delicate mental state, I'm fascinated by and absolutely want to keep stepping forward, not even mentioning the fact that Makima absolutely revealed to be a villain, and there's like morally gray areas here right and left where I don't know who exactly is in the right anymore. I just know I'm on Denji and Power's side, which is a sign of good writing, and that is a really big compliment for me to give this. I'm not in love with it, but I'm definitely liking it. But anyway, let me know what you think of Chainsaw Man in the comments down below. Did you make it as far as I did? Have you finished it? What was your favorite volume? Is it yet to be read by me, or have I gotten it under my belt? Have a good one, y'all. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. I got merch, I got books, and have a good one. Peace.